third Eye Rhya is dropping tonight alongside the Julius second skill page, and thankfully after some leaks that we did see, and I imagine they actually would do this, they have actually gone out the way to give a free-to-play Julius skill page banner, so it is not limited towards obviously whales, right? So if you are free to play, you actually can go over and try and summon Julius skill page, but is it worth summoning? Obviously we have Rhya to talk about as well. We have his kit leaked that we're going to go through and talk about him in today's video. So, okay, we'll start with Julius skill page. Before I go through these two new banners coming towards the game, I'm going to say right now, I don't believe I will be summoning. The main reason why is because most of us have just summoned for obviously, you know, Black Divider Aster. I already have a pretty good DPS. Not to say that I can't use Rhya alongside of him, but for me personally, I'm kind of good in terms of DPSs. And we have gotten leaks a little bit that Dorothy is coming out 2 weeks later at the end of our season. So what is it in? So in 16 days time. And Dorothy's a character I've been waiting a long time for, and she looks like a pretty broken debuffer that yeah, I'm probably gonna go for her so I can use her alongside my Black Aster. All right, so on screen now is Julius' skill page. Upon attacking, there's a 50 to 100% chance to attack after granting a 50% increased damage dealt per 100% speed, which is actually good. But the problem is, as you can see, there's a chance, right? That's the big thing. So very much like Leona. So if you've used Leona before, then you probably felt this effect a little bit, where like she can deal a lot of damage, but then if this doesn't proc, then you can really feel a little bit. And if you've been using obviously Black Divider Aster as well, right, where you have like a 70% chance, at least for me right now, to get that extra turn, you really feel that 70% a lot. So if you don't really plan to really go in all on that Julius skill page banner, then I can't say it's worth it. And from what I've heard on JP and people that have used the character, is that he's not even the best DPS, especially now with Rhya coming out. Rhya you'd actually probably rather, you know, get him duped out and use him over Juice because he looks to be a lot better. And also probably one of the funnest characters you've ever seen in Black Clover Mobile, because he has so much diverse stuff that you can really change how he plays. And it's kind of the only reason why I kind of want to get Rhya, because he's so unique. But yeah, Julius skill page banner, I mean, if you're a whale, if you're free to play, would I summon? Probably not. Like after getting Aster coming out, I'd rather summon for Rhya. But hey, if you're a whale, then you're probably going to go for it. Okay, so on the screen now, it's going to be Rhya's kit. I'm going to split it up. We're going to go in order here. We'll probably start off with the passive, because the passives do give a lot of insight about how the character works. So this is Rhya's passive. Now, to start off, he is going to be a blue character, and he is an attacker. So if we look at his actual passives, at the start of the turn, he can apply an extra effect based on the partner's and mage's class. So what does that mean? Okay, so it does mean basically if we want to bring a defender, like obviously Veto, you would then get the actual defender buff, and if you bring a supporter, then you obviously get the supporter buff, and the buffs go as follows. So if he's got a partner defender, he's going to get a 30% reduced damage taken buff for 1 turn. Now granted, as long as that supporter is alive, he obviously will get the buff, which does mean if he dies or the person dies, then he will not get these buffs. So it might even be smart to sometimes take out the actual partner so you can't get those buffs, right? Attacker class is going to grant a 30% increased damage dealt buff. Supporter, which is actually going to crazy, is going to grant a 50% mobility buff, which is probably, I'd say, the best one, I'd say, because if you've used Real does that a little bit, or even use Leona, like just getting a 30% mobility buff to where you can get another turn again is very, very powerful. So I imagine that might be the best one here. Debuffer grants a free SP buff, so you can probably get ultimate every like second turn. Very, very good too. Healer grants 100% of attack as a barrier for 1 turn. Yeah, another pretty decent one, I think. There are going to be some standard ones, and I imagine as the meta performs and we've tested out the character, he's going to move into probably just having a supporter on his team. Like, we'll probably figure out what are the best, you know, characters alongside of him. But you got to remember as well, going forward, like, we're getting a Dorothy in the future. She's going to be a pretty good debuffer. And in turn, that actually could buff up Rhya a little bit, because then if you get a pretty good debuffer, you can then use that debuffer alongside Rhya. So I genuinely do think with any new character coming out nowadays, we've got to look and see how well they do work with Rhya. So that goes to how powerful this character actually is. His Awakening, when he gets towards 2-star, upon attacking, grants a 5% increased damage dealt for each buff present on all enemies. This can actually get kind of high in PvP with everyone buffing up with Noelle. You got obviously Green Charlotte as well. Just any character buffing up can be kind of crazy, to where you're probably going to have around like 3 to 4 buffs per character. That can get a really high increased damage dealt. But then you get towards the actual, you know, LR +5. It's kind of the reason why I don't want to summon for Rhya a little bit, or maybe I will just to get a few copies to where I might be able to use them in the future. But if counter attack is present on self, grant a 4% increased crit rate and reduce damage taken by 50%, which is obviously very, very good just to have that passively at 5-star. But If his HP drops below 5%, grants immortality for 1 turn once per battle. And that's the one thing that's like I'm not like too keen on Rhya, because it really feels like, once again, if you don't have it maxed out, is there a point of using him, right? Once again, if you've gotten this character with like max dupes, he's probably one of the best DPS in the game from the sounds of it. But my biggest fear right now is like the free-to-plays and myself, for example, where we've just summoned for Asta, we've just gotten him maxed out. Can I afford to spend another 20,000 and get lucky to max him out with his skill page as well? It's a lot, man, especially the fact that they've removed the universal skill page dupes now. It's very, very hard, and you've got to be very, very wise when it comes towards duping out your actual, your characters nowadays. And since Rhya is going to be a standard SSR to where he is going to go into the general star pool, but then again, everyone's going to go to the general star pool. You know, you're probably not going to get him, because I've still been trying to get Zora, who's been released for months now, and I still haven't gotten him. But hey, you know, you have the chance to get him. There's always something to consider. Alright, so his first skill is going to be a single target skill, where if he does crit, he's going to do an extra attack, which is kind of crazy. They kind of stopped doing that. You notice that when the game first launched, a lot of characters, especially the SRs, had this kind of ability, right? Where if you look at Charmy, she had that extra, or could have a chance to perform the extra attack. We had obviously Yuno, who I really, really liked during the early days, and obviously when we could use Ghost like the SR rule, having those extra attacks, they actually do matter. To have down a single target skill on a skill 1, it's pretty good. But that's not it, because what he also does is copies 2 buffs from an enemy, which is obviously very, very good too, and also grants himself extended counter attack duration by 1 turn. But then we have his skill 2, which is going to do a massive AoE skill, but also as well, if he does land a crit, I believe on any of the characters, as long as he crits 1 person, which is obviously very, very good, he's then going to do an extra attack, which if he does do an extra attack, is then going to apply a execution onto an enemy for 2 turns. And also as well, if you have a skill page, which you should have a skill page, he's going to remove all buffs on that designated target. And then we get to his ultimate, which is ultimate is insane as well, and has so much like diverse play that, once again, depending on how the meta evolves a little bit, you can actually like, you know, change on how his ultimate works a little bit. So you can have a single target skill, which upon landing a crit, he's going to once again deal extra damage, very much like the green Rhya. What he's also going to do is apply an extra effect based on your partner's ability. So very much like the passive he does get by having that partner mage. If he has a partner mage alive, if he's got a defender, he's going to remove immortality, which, oh my god, this could have been the most broken unit in the game, because if this had, I think it was immortality block to where you couldn't get immortality, this will be insane. But if Asta is in his actual despair and has his immortality, then you can remove it if he has it. But if he doesn't have it, then, well, it's not going to work. But like I said, what you could do, I think, a little bit is have your supporter on. But then again, you would have that defender class. So I'm not too sure it'll work. But yeah, you got to like play around a little bit. You have to probably bring another DPS. So you could bring another Asta. If you time it properly in your order sequence, you could have Asta make the actual other Asta enter despair, get his immortality. Then you could actually remove it. So there's some counterplay there a little bit, right? Not going to be as OP as someone just getting a Riot to like 1 or 2 star and then absolutely killing my 5-star Black Divider Asta. Thankfully, right? If Rhya has an attacker, he's going to remove the barrier on an enemy. If he's got a supporter, he's going to lower the mobility. Probably not the best one, because you're hoping to kill anyway, so lower mobility is probably not the best thing. Debuffer is going to lower the SP. Once again, you probably want to kill with the ultimate, so lowering the SP, not the greatest. And a healer as well, you're going to apply barrier immunity for 2 turns. Once again, you want to kill. So if anything, I'd imagine the attacker and defender is going to be the best one. But also, you got to remember that he gets buffs from having other passives. So while looking at this right now, like the defender, attacker might be the best ones. If you look at his passives, having a supporter or debuffer and even like an attacker looks like the best ones. And then on screen now, you can see his actual combined skill, his Grimoire skill 2, and also his Grimoire passive, which you can see right now is upon dealing extra damage, to the chance, to 100% chance to get a 4% attack damage dealt, right? Which is, once again, a little more well character. Very much like what we just talked about with Julius, where you really do feel the fact that you may actually miss it. So, yeah, is it worth summoning? I mean, guys, look, simply put, right, the character is going to be one of the better DPSs right now, and he actually is worth summoning. However, can we summon? That's the big thing, because most of us right now have probably gone all in on, obviously, Black Divider Asta, to where right now we don't really have enough diamonds to actually summon for Rhya. But what I can say is, if you do have the diamonds for him, and you also like Rhya as a character, it definitely is worth summoning. If like honestly, if this was like Sekre, even I don't imagine Sekre will be a DPS character, but if this was Dorothy, if this was a like Locke, like in his elf form, or a character I like more in the story mode, I definitely will be summoning. Not to say Rhya's not cool towards me, because I do like it. I'm glad we are getting him. But you know, there are better characters I do prefer in the story. But personally for me, he's reaching that bad time with the fact that I've just spent so much and invested so much into Black Asta as somewhat of a free-to-play casual that I'll just buy the monthly deals basically, to where I can't afford it. So personally myself, I don't see myself going too crazy on this banner if I summon at all. And bear in mind, Dorothy is coming out 2 weeks later, and she's a character I want to invest a bit into. And after that, we have obviously Salamander Fagolion, who's been leaked as well. Probably gonna release after Dorothy, who looks a bit better, not better, but he looks more enticing towards me. He looks easy. So yeah, guys, that is gonna wrap up the video. Let me know if you're summoning. He is a standard character, so he will go into the Genesis hard pool. So if I happen to put him in the future, or maybe by the time we have our first anniversary, then maybe he might be on even on the free banner when he eventually update the tickets. Granted, he won't do it for a long time by now, because we still don't even have gray in the banners, but like, you'll eventually be able to get a lot of copies of him. And if I eventually get him duped out, it might be a bit too late, because we probably have a better DPS by then. But he looks interesting. Very, very fun character. I might tempt to summon a little bit. But yeah, as for right now, I'm planning to save everything for Dorothy, because, hey, we like Dorothy on this channel. So guys, thank you for watching today's video. And yeah, good luck if you summon, and peace.